Yo, it's Joe, and welcome to another video. We're going to be doing the second part because I had to split it up. Between the Sheets interview with Marisha Ray, they discuss some pretty heavy stuff in this video having to do with abuse and harassment. If you feel as though that you may feel discomfort when watching this and hearing these things, watch at your own discretion if you do choose to do so. So we're going to start basically right where we left off last.
And they were right. Like, and I had that. Man, how is that the part that's making me emotional about this? They were right. And it didn't matter what he had done to me. It didn't matter that it had been months of torture. I would have been the fucking bad guy at the end of it.
Unfortunately.
And I held on to him for a while, and I was just like looking at him. And I like, in a way, I am glad that my friends were there. To talk me off of that.
Absolutely.
Sometimes I look back and I'm like, yeah, even if it would have thrown me out, I went to LA that summer anyway.
Yeah, but the thing is, though, you proved to yourself in that moment that you had more restraint. Not to say that if you would have hit him, that you would have been wrong, because listen, you did way better than me. You did way better than me there. So, you know, than I would have done. I think that a lot of people would have done in that situation. You know, you at the end of the day, it's my opinion that you did the right thing for yourself. And you know, you didn't need to have the situation escalate. Kind of just stopped it there, and you know, hopefully at least it didn't escalate from here. But I just think that was the best course of action. That course of action affected you in the most positive way, that you acting violently wouldn't have, you know. I don't know if that makes sense, but anyways, yeah.
Anyway, like, even if it would have thrown me out, I went to LA that summer anyway. Like,
Proved how strong you are.
but once
though.
again, when you're like 18, I didn't know if this was gonna follow me, and
Yeah, you don't know what's gonna happen.
I don't know.
You didn't expect that. You didn't plan for that to happen.
Fuck
How would you have
no.
a plan for how to deal with it?
And I'll never forget just whispers saying, "It's not worth it. Let go, Marisha." And it was, you have the initial friends that were like, "Break it up, break it up, break it up," and then I had a few like girlfriends like talking to me
And they
in
knew
my
what
ear,
was going
and
on.
they knew. Like, and my roommate was very supportive. I loved my roommate in college. She was great.
That's so good that you had that
You
kind
know,
of a
and she was
support
kinda there.
system.
And once again, everyone was kind of helping in the way that we all knew best. We were all fucking dumb 18-year-old college kids. We were all
Yeah.
stumbling through life, like the best of us. And yeah, I let go. I think that had to have been like March. I don't think he actually fucked with me too much after that.
I wouldn't.
Like after.
I mean, I never would have fucked with you anyway, but I definitely wouldn't have.
But it had been most of the year until I had that confrontation.
It's sad that it has to go that far
How
for
do you think
some
that's shaped
people.
who you are?
For some people to get the hint that what they're doing is wrong. It's sad, man. You have a lot of really immature and heartless people out there. But for every person that is like that, there's always somebody like me who's gonna try to, you know, give you words of encouragement and support, and also just, you know, no, you're never alone. You know, and there's always people out there that are, you know, that are gonna be willing to help you, you know, if they can. You know, if they see something going on, there are gonna be people out there. It might not happen. It might not be the majority of people. It might not happen every time. But just know that just because there are people out there that are shitty in this world, that doesn't mean that there aren't people that are gonna try to lift you up and save you from just really horrible and horrific things like that. Yeah, there are people that are going to want to bring sunshine in your life, so to speak. So just always keep that in mind. Keep in mind that there are always people out there that are gonna help you, or there's always good people out there. Don't let the bad people that mess up mess that up for you. Stop you from trying to make friends. Stop you from trying to find the right people that are gonna support you and treat you right, because they are out there and you can find them. Um, yeah, I just want to say that, you're not alone. Definitely not alone.
today.
Let me bring that back.
Until I had that confrontation.
How do you think that's shaped who you are today? That experience, because like I said, you're somebody that's resilient. You're also somebody that doesn't really take a lot of shit. And I
Yeah.
wonder about how that experience has played a factor in those values you have today, because you know it takes a lot to really, you have very thick skin. It takes a lot to get to affect you in that way.
Yeah.
But how do you think that's helped shape who you are now, all these years later?
I mean, it definitely, like I talk about kind of the cynicism and kind of underlying anger that I do have. That was definitely a part that kind of fuels it. Because what makes me angry when I think back to all of that is, it's like you said, I know I had the resolve to deal with it. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
functioning so much in my life through like sheer stubbornness in a weird way,
It's like a.
and spite.
Mm.
So I had the sheer honoriness to deal with it. I know most people don't, though. And I think of all the young women, or just young people in general, male or female, non-gender binary, whatever, everyone, no one should experience what that was. And I know that some people, I don't know if they would have survived that. I think about people like my little sister, who's way more sensitive than I am. And those are the people that I start getting concerned about.
You're very protective of people like that, especially young girls.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I see so many of our fans and the critters, and I've gotten so many messages. These are the people I get defensive of. Because people know that I tend to be the target of harassment on the internet, or the people that they
Which
want
is
to pick on the most out of the rest
fucking
of the CR
stupid.
cast.
Stupid. I've been given the breakdown of like why, at least from the context that I've spoken about, when it comes to like campaign 1 and her actions. Still not okay. Still not okay, dude. I understand it's frustrating. But you have to understand and take yourself out of the moment for a second and really realize that this is just a group of people who are learning, who are growing, who are playing this game, and you need to allow them to live and grow and make mistakes and be the way that they're gonna be, because that's how they grow. That's how people grow, is by not to say that what she was doing was a mistake, or how she was acting was a mistake. I don't know. For myself, I haven't seen it. I just know of what people have told me that it had come across as. So I'm not going to speak on whether or not what she did was right or wrong. I'm not going to judge, because I don't know. I'm not going to speak on something I don't know about. But what I do know is that getting so wrapped up in somebody else's uh, uh, their fun time, like, granted, they're doing this for you, by the way. This is not something that they need to do. They do this because they love it and they love their fans, and this is what they want to do for you guys. If you can't keep that in the back of your mind and remember that when they may be acting in a way or playing the game in a way that you don't appreciate, understand that number one, it is just a game, and number two, yeah, they're doing this for you when they're growing in their own way and they're learning this in their own way. Not everybody's gonna act the way that you want them to act, dude. Not everybody's gonna play the game the way you want them to play. Not everybody's gonna know all the rules. Not everybody's gonna not in life. Not everybody's gonna act exactly how you want them to act. And because people don't act exactly the way that you want them to act, even if they're a little aggravating, even if they may come off a certain way, that does not give you the right to harass them at all. Just want to let that be known. That's all I'm gonna say on that. And if you were one of those people that did that, hopefully you're at a point now where you're more mature and you understand that that wasn't the way to go. But if not, hopefully this explanation has you thinking about things a little bit differently, because it's not okay. It's not okay. At the end of the day, like, if you really don't like it that much, if it's something that bothers you that much, like that much that you're sending threats and harassing people, if it's affecting you that bad, I think maybe there's some issues you got to work out. Maybe you should just stop watching. Maybe you should find something else. That's just me. Anyways, let's listen to her speak.
The internet are the people that they want to pick on the most out of the rest of the CR cast. And I see
So stupid.
these young girls reaching out to me and saying, I hope Marisha doesn't see this. I hope Marisha doesn't leave or go away because of these things that people were saying.
Like,
That,
was it really
that-
like, was it that bad? Like, were people really that like I'm telling you, man, like, if you were one of these people that did this, hopefully you've grown and you don't do this anymore. But you definitely have some issues of your own you have to work out, man. You gotta take a step back and think, like, wait, what the hell am I doing right now? Because that is not okay at all.
That's one. And then the one that hurts the most is if this is the way that the D&D community or the nerd community is talking to people like Marisha, I don't know if I want to be involved.
Wow.
If this is the community that's
Yep.
waiting for me, I don't know if it's safe for me.
And it's so crazy because, like, I haven't experienced any of that negativity from any of you guys, and I'm so thankful that all of you guys are so supportive, and I know there's none of that toxicity, and I really hope that none of it ever does come my way, and I'll do my best to remove that. But it just sucks that a community over something that's so fun like this can get so. I don't know. I mean, that there's people like that in every community, every walk of life, but it's just like over D&D, bro. Over D&D. That's like somebody, like, it's a game, bro. I'm trying to, like, imagine, like, somebody having, like, fucking murder beef over playing Battleship. Like, it doesn't make any sense. It's like, are you okay? Are you okay? We're not talking about Marisha right now. Are you okay?
And that's crushing. That's crushing. And that's what all these people out there need to know. Whenever you type shut up Keyleth, whenever you say shut up bitch, God, Marisha, you're so stupid, you're not telling that to me. I'm in my own fucking little world playing D&D or rolling dice. I'm great. You're not talking to me.
All those other people see that.
You're talking to all of these influenceable young people. And fuck you for making them feel like they might not have a place here. And that's when I talk a lot about the responsibility of the community to be welcoming and
Don't forget
kind.
to love each other, take care
Don't
of each
forget
other.
to love each other. You know, you talk about it so much. Matt talks about it so much. People like Logic talk about it so much.
We're trying to create a safe space for people and to maintain that.
Yeah.
And it's not always
Absolutely.
easy.
No.
And it's not that those are the loudest voices, but they're constant.
Yes.
And the thing is a lot of times people take our or your addressing of those type of comments and that sort of harassment feedback, and they say, yeah, but nobody nobody pays attention to that. It's a small percentage versus the whole.
Yeah,
But
don't
with
listen to
your-
the haters. Don't worry, you're good. And like, I thank you, thank you, thank you.
I mean, sounds good, bro. It sounds good to say. Like, it's very. That's one of those things where it's easier said than done. If you're somebody just that doesn't necessarily have a following like that, and can kind of avoid that easily, sure, it might be easy for you to do that. But when there are all of these negative and hateful, spiteful things coming your way from different platforms and different directions and social media and whatnot, it's very difficult to avoid. Um, and then you might say, well, if you want to avoid it, just leave. It's not how that's supposed to work. You know who you sound like? You sound like the person. No, not who you sound like. You know what that solution is like? That solution is like when Marisha took the whiteboard off of her door because she had every right to keep that there. She did nothing wrong. She had every right to keep that there. But you're basically telling her that she should remove it because if you don't like the harassment that you're receiving, just leave. Just try to take away the tool or remove yourself away from the tool that's being used to harass you. And as you've seen in that story, what's still gonna happen anyways? There's people out there that's gonna always find a way. So it's a lot easier said than done when you're a figure like this that's very well known on and you have all of these fans and all of these people that that are watching you and critiquing you. You got to think about these things, guys. You got to think about these things. It really doesn't take much to be a good person. Really doesn't take much.
I appreciate all of
But
that.
you're not worried about how it's going to affect you. You're worried about how it's going to affect that other person
Yeah.
who is saying,
Also what Brian, like what they're talking about, yes, worrying about the other person, but I do want to touch on that in case they don't get into what I just said. What I just said is very important. That's some real shit, guys.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate all of
But
that.
you're not worried about how it's going to affect you. You're worried about how it's going to affect that other person
Yeah.
who is saying, I don't know if I want to be a part of this community because there is this element of it that
Mm-hmm.
I'm someone that's maybe more sensitive or not equipped to
not-
handle.
I'm not as I don't have the emotional bandwidth. Who knows what these people are going on in their lives? Sometimes the last thing that you need is to be thrown into another situation where you're gonna have a bunch of people fucking yelling at you. And even some of the kind of online bullies that we've talked to, I know so many of them have shit going on, and they're using this as their outlet. And I think so many people think that when you say, God, Marisha, fuck, shut up, you're the worst, you think you're screaming into a void, but you're not. And you have
There's
to
a person
remember
behind that comment, and there's a person in front of that comment.
watching all of it happen. And I think the most mature realization that any person will come to in their lives, and it kind of comes as a transition from adolescence into adulthood, is recognizing that your actions reverberate into the rest of the world. Your actions have consequences and reactions. And even if you think, man, no one's listening to this, Marisha's not going to check her tweets, so-and-so's not going to read this and think like, meh, I'm just screaming into a void. You're not.
But at that point, what's the point? See what I'm trying to say? Put that energy, let that drive you into doing something positive that is either going to benefit you and bring you out of that headspace, out of that way that you're feeling, and try to put that in a way that is going to be positive to you and the people around you. Use that as drive and determination to make some changes for yourself, or try to make your situation better. Please, please, please try. Again, it's easier said than done, but at least try, because that's a hell of a lot better than just keeping yourself in that headspace without trying to do some reflecting and getting yourself out of it, uh, and uh, and then using that negativity to bring yourself even further down, along with someone else or other people or whatever.
We don't live in a vacuum. You're not shouting
This is
into
gonna
a
be a long
vacuum.
ass
When you
video.
do
I got
something, it
so much
fucking
to say.
butterfly effects
I
into the rest of
apologize,
the world.
but you
Think
know
about
what?
it.
It's a
Like,
real
think
reaction.
about it.
Sorry.
Butterfly vacuum. You're not shouting into a vacuum. When you do something, it fucking butterfly effects into the rest of the world. Think about it. Like, think about it. Think about who. Get out of
Think before
your
you act.
self-centered universe for a second and wonder if your selfishness isn't maybe taking away from someone else's potential enjoyment or joy. And like, why? But
Hurt people, that's why. Because
yeah.
you
Unfortunately, it's a
it's
cycle.
interesting thinking of that YouTube comment block as that whiteboard outside your dorm room. and
Dude,
thinking
yeah,
about
see?
the kind of stuff that
Mm-hmm.
we see people write about you. And the nice thing is that those of us that know you don't worry about how those comments affect you, because we know what you've been through. Does it have an effect on you? Does it or is it easy for you by now to be able to just go, it's not true, and some of the stuff that is true, it doesn't affect me, it's who I am.
Yeah.
But there is a person behind that online persona, and it does,
I mean, the words are never great to see. It
Of
doesn't feel
course.
good.
Of course.
I think in the way that it affects me now, I sometimes, once again, I sometimes think, like my RA suggesting, just take down the whiteboard. I think my solution to when I see people yelling at me online is, I think, yell it into my inbox if it means you're not going to go after someone like my sister.
Wow.
Mm.
But that's a little bit of like a martyrdom complex.
But I understand the sentiment behind it. Is I have thick enough skin. I'm strong enough to take
I
it.
can
There's
take
others
it.
who aren't, and I want
Right.
to spare them this. So I'd
Right.
rather take it on myself than have them deal with it.
I mean, I've seen so many of our young artists end up getting targeted by some of these people, and I see the emotional destruction that it can do to them if you're not anticipating it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm with you. Life is hard. The world is infuriating. There are things that make you want to lash out and just scream into the internet about.
But the way a girl plays D&D, that's what you're gonna choose to put all of your frustration into and your hate.
It just.
I guess, everybody sees an outlet in a different way. I guess maybe that's what it is. Everybody has their own outlet, and maybe that is their way. Maybe that's, as silly as it may seem, maybe that's some people's way. I don't agree, and I do not think it's right. But I can understand how, if somebody doesn't have any other outlet to act that way, the outcome has to be something. It has to go somewhere, and for some people, I guess that's it. So it's super silly to me, but I mean, it's super silly to to them too. But again, taking yourself. See what I just did there? Taking myself out of my shoes and trying to at least understand. It's what you got to do. It really didn't take much there for me to do that. Doesn't take much.
Think a little bit ahead. Just a little bit. And And it doesn't have to do with me. It has nothing to do with me or even them. But when I talk about that responsibility that we have and that we have as a community, that's what I'm talking about. You know, what we're talking about. Because no one deserves to have anything kept from them. Or this joy of D&D, or My Little Pony, or any fandom. No one deserves to have that kept from them just because you think otherwise.
Yeah.
Yep, just because you want to bully them out of there.
Things going on in your world.
No, that's not how that works.
You think gives you a right to say these things. Don't steal people's joy, man.
Preach, Marisha.
Well said.
Preach.
Well said.
Cheers.
Thank you for going there.
You know what? No, hold on. We're bringing it back. Hold on. A little bit more.
fair.
A little bit more.
Well
We about
said.
to. Hold on a second. We about
Well
to.
said.
Cheers.
Thank you for
Cheers.
going there and talking about that.
I haven't
No, I
talked
know
about that like ever.
I know it's not easy, but at the same time, those same people that you're being protective of will watch this and be encouraged and understand that, like, wow, someone that has found success, is strong, intelligent, successful, has also gone through this thing that I have and come out the other side of it.
Yeah,
And
you'll be okay. I mean, I think one of the things that anyone will experience if they are under sexual assault is the victim shaming. And that's there, it's designed to try and make you feel weak.
Mm-hmm.
Because the power dynamic of rape or sexual assault, it's all about power. And that continues on after the act with victim blaming. Oh my God, you got it.
Yo, Mr. Miyagi?
I'm Mr.
Amazing.
Miyagi.
Yeah, shit.
But yeah, that victim shaming is there to continue to make the victim feel like, well, you're weak, you did something. And that's, you're not weak, you were wronged, first off.
Mm-hmm.
Two, if someone cannot take no as an answer and still doesn't have the amount of self-control
Or respect for you.
to not assault you, you fucking tell me who's the weak one.
Exactly.
Preach,
Blaming
yo.
you for what happened in college.
Yo,
is like,
she is spitting bars right now. Oh my God, I love this. Love it.
blaming Jaws. I mean, ultimately, it's as
Yeah.
stupid as going, well, if you wouldn't have watched Jaws,
Jaws.
this never would have happened.
That's so fucking
You wouldn't
stupid.
have had those sexy pajama pants on that just leave it all out there,
wouldn't have had
inviting
that-
someone to.
That Coca-Cola.
Mm-hmm.
Man, you straight-laced kids with your caffeine beverages.
Fuck, Tinkerbell.
You took the agent up on his offer and left college at 19 years old
19.
and moved to LA
Sheesh.
at 19 years old.
Just turned 19.
Did you
Birthday's in
know
May.
anyone out here?
No, I had one girlfriend in college who was from the Valley girl. So when I moved out here, I moved.
It's Crystal from Ojai.
She kind of was Crystal from Ojai, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Her name was Rainey.
That makes sense.
Uh-huh.
Makes sense.
She
Nice.
was great, but of course she lived here for the summer, and then she went back to college. So I had.
Rainey's
her
a
for
nice name, by
couple
the way.
months. And then I didn't know anybody after that, and I had decided, halfway through this die-hard year, this hell year, that, yep, I'm gonna go to Los Angeles. I'm going to finish this. I'm gonna go back home to Kentucky, gather my shit, gather my boyfriend at the time. He was coming with me. And on June 1st, we are out. We are hitting the road June 1st. The night before we were supposed to leave, it was my boyfriend's last shift at UPS. And at this point, we were working overtime, double time, just saving as much money as we could, knowing we were about to move. He falls asleep at the wheel and totals the car.
Oh no.
Complete the car that we had just dumped probably $3,000 into to try and get roadworthy and ready to go.
Was he all right?
He was okay. He was asleep. They always say that
Yeah,
about
because
sleep people.
You
You're
don't
just
tense up. And
Yeah,
right,
don't
right.
tense up.
yeah. He walked
Wow.
fine.
How'd you end up getting out here then? Did you stay?
As someone, I don't have like the busiest schedule out there, but if someone, as someone, just to give you guys an idea of how busy I am and how I ain't joking, I work 16-hour shifts back to back to back. I still have a couple days off, but yeah, basically every day I go to work, 16 hours. By the time I get home and I'm able to get some sleep, maybe I get like maybe 3 on a good day. On a good day, I'll get 4 hours of sleep. And then the next day, I do it again, and do it again, and do it again, and do it again. I have a couple days off, but at that point, I'm so tired, I just want to sleep. And then my days off turn into a day off, really. And it's very difficult for me to to do things sometimes. So when I tell you guys that I'm busting my ass and when I'm not at work, this is what I do. Like I'm putting my time and energy into this. That is what I mean. So, yeah.
Stay on target, or did you have to change and push back when you were going to come out?
So, my parents were like, okay, well, you like just calm. Let's take a couple weeks, reevaluate, see what happens. And I was like, no. And I was like, it has to be June 1st. And my mom was like, what the fuck, like, why? And I was like, I'm just afraid if I don't do it now that day,
if you don't do it now while you're motivated, then you never will.
I never will. I'll like chicken out or something.
Yo, I know, Marisha, I know.
Now on that day, I never will. I'll like chicken out or something else will happen.
Mm-hmm.
So my parents, being my parents, are like, I guess we could drop you off. I guess we could we could take the minivan and
take you out from Kentucky to LA, drop you off, and then.
That's so tough, man.
What emotions were you feeling driving out here? Were you terrified, or were?
Also, by the way, guys, as an aside, just to go real quick, I did a 16-hour shift today. I haven't slept. I've been up for over 24 hours. But I'm doing that because this is starting my day off right now. And before I go to sleep, this is the content I'm putting. I'm telling you, man, I'm all about y'all. I'm all about y'all. I do not joke when I say I'm putting a lot of effort into this. I just want to let y'all know.
Young and just like, I'm gonna go make a career.
For y'all, man, I appreciate y'all, and I mean it when I say it.
Until later. The ocean take you out from Kentucky to LA, drop you off, and then
drive
home.
back. I guess we could do it now on that day. I never will. I'll like chicken out or something else will happen.
Mm-hmm.
So my parents, being my parents, are like, I guess we could drop you off. I guess we could take the minivan and
take you out from Kentucky to LA, drop you off, and then
drive
home.
back.
Wow. What emotions were you feeling driving out here? Were you terrified, or were you so young and just like, I'm gonna go make a career in Hollywood, that fear didn't set in till later, or was it a mixture of both?
A little mixture of both. Definitely like the more of the latter. The fear didn't set in until I was standing in this shithole apartment, just surrounded by whatever boxes and suitcases we unloaded out of the minivan, which wasn't a lot, because whatever you could fit in a minivan,
right.
with 4 other people plus 5 other people. And I remember, like, my parents dropping me off. They were dropping me off, and they were leaving. They were driving right back. And my mom was just, like, bawling. My dad's getting choked up. He's doing the dad thing where he's like, love you. Love you. He's doing that thing. And I'm just like,
Start to hit you with
It
Yeah.
started hitting me. And I remember
Absolutely.
them leaving, closing the door, and I'm standing in this garbage dump.
Whew, that's
looking
rough.
around, and my first thought was, okay, I need a job. How do you get jobs? Got a newspaper, look in the back, looking for jobs. And there was this ad that said, we're looking for canvassers to help spread the word for the Democratic National Committee.
Oh,
We
okay.
need people on the street. And I was like, I can do that. And I was very thankful for that job because we would meet in Westwood at our offices, and then they would just pair you up with someone else, and they'd say, you're going to Silver Lake, you're going to Westwood, you're going to Santa Monica, you're going to Ventura, and
Spend the day out there with the clipboard, do your little thing.
yeah, all those people that everyone just like pretends they're on the phone for to walk by to go, you know, you don't want to get stopped. That was me.
That was you.
I did that. My boyfriend at the time was working back in Kentucky. He was working a job at American Eagle Outfitters.
Oh,
And he
fire
managed to get
store. Love their
transferred
stuff.
To the American Eagle on Hollywood Boulevard
Mm.
in the Hollywood Highland Mall. So often when I was done with work for the DNC, I would go hang out on Hollywood Boulevard, and I started noticing all these street characters. I could have my mom send me my tap shoes, I guess. I could like, that'd be cool, right? So I was like, Mom, ship me tap shoes. She did. Just started tap dancing. And people would gather, and throwing in fives, quarters, blah 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 blah, da da da. And I realized if I kept going, people would just stay. They thought it was like a routine.
They
You
did.
know?
Meanwhile, you just start
And
tap
so I was like-
dancing, and everybody's looking at you, and you're like, okay. Yeah.
I'm tired.
Fuck, I'm tired. And then I did that for a couple hours. And I was like, fuck, I'm gonna take a break. And I pulled my little bucket aside and I sat down in Hollywood and Highland Mall and I started counting in dollar bills and quarters, and I had made 80 some odd dollars in like 2 hours.
Wow.
So in my brain, I'm doing the math. I'm like, well, I make $73 a day.
With the clipboard.
With the
right.
clipboard.
Right.
I just made 80 in 2 hours. Sure, it's in dollar bills and quarters, but that's $80. 2 weeks into this, I'm like, oh, my joints and my feet are bleeding. Maybe this is
It's
this is a lot
not long
to
term.
do all the time. And there was this
Not
guy
sustainable.
from Canada, call him Canadian Batman.
Canadian
kept walking
Batman.
by, and every day he would walk by me and he would go, "You're working too hard." Every day, "You're working too hard. Talk to me when you don't anymore." I'm like, "Who the fuck is this guy?" And then he's like pulling out this like wad of cash, and he's like, "Just take pictures of people as Batman." And I was like, "Fuck." Fuck. And he's like, "Look, I'll do it with you if you want to try it." And I'm like, "You're Batman. Poison Ivy's one of my favorite comic book characters."
Oh,
I'm like, "I'll make
smart.
a Poison Ivy costume." Turns out the majority of the public at large can't recognize Poison Ivy necessarily
know.
on sight.
Right.
Yeah.
How do you not recognize Poison Ivy? Yo, she is badass. Such a cool character design, and I mean, you know, she's
Right.
Not skeezy dudes were just like hot babe
Yeah.
fucking leaves.
she be looking spicy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying. But
Look,
Poison
I'm
Ivy's
tree
badass, though. How do you not know? She's one of the more iconic Batman villains. Like, how do you not? That's like you not knowing who Catwoman is or Penguin is, like, or Joker, or, like Harley Quinn. Like what? Like, you know what I mean? Like, she's like up there with them. At least to me. I don't know how you wouldn't know who the hell. As soon as you see the leaves, the red or orangish hair, the greenish skin, if you want to go that far, it's obvious. But maybe that's just me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Look, I'm tree hugging.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
I got Wife of the Jolly Green Giant once. That was my favorite.
Wow.
Nice.
That's
It's,
impressive.
That's inspired.
Wife of the
That'd be-
Jolly
that'd
Green
be
Giant.
Honey,
It's
you know
pretty
that
cool.
guy you love from the cans of vegetables? What if he was married?
You know how you
That's-
hate eating your green
That's what
beans?
she's tapping into. She's bringing representation
That's
to the
what she's
canned
tapping
vegetable
into.
business at last. A progressive cosplayer.
Yeah.
I wanted my daughter to take a picture with her.
Now say, "Eat your greens, honey."
Right. What are some of the other outfits you ended up wearing?
Well, it ended up transitioning from Poison Ivy one day when I didn't have Batman, and I was like doing terribly, making no money, no pictures, nothing, just standing there embarrassed. A little girl runs up to me and she goes, "Tinkerbell, Tinkerbell!" And of course, when you're starving and desperate in Los Angeles, you go, "Yes, little girl, hi, fairies, let's take a picture." And I was like, fuck, Tinkerbell. And then about this time, I turned around and I looked at the El Capitan behind me, and they were playing the Tinkerbell movie.
Oh, right.
That CG Tinkerbell movie that they did. And so I took a picture with that little girl, had that realization, went, immediately walked down to Hollywood and Highland Costumes, bought a pair of fairy wings, threw my hair up in a bun, and instantly became Tinkerbell, and walked back out.
Oh, that's actually, it's pretty good too.
Just cleaning house.
Really? That was the ticket.
That was the ticket. And then I eventually made like an actual Tinkerbell costume, one that looked like the movie, that wasn't so Poison Ivy. Did the whole like heart-shaped thing, poofs on the little shoes and everything. And those because then they made 3 of those damn Tinkerbell movies.
They did? Oh, so you.
She was eating off
Made
those.
more money off those Tinkerbell movies than the people who made them probably did.
Probably.
And like on a good summer day, or you'd stand out there for like 8 hours, and like if those movies were going, I could make like $500 in tips.
Damn. Sheesh.
What was your biggest takeaway from that experience? Because for people that move to LA at a young age like you do to try and make it, of all the odd jobs they end up working, that's usually not one of them that you hear about in LA. So it's such a unique experience. I want to know what you took away from that.
That is an excellent question. I'd say it definitely opened up my mind to the amount of different people that there are in this town.
Right.
Because every person who was out there on the boulevard was working for some sort of different reason. It was all kind of always out of necessity, not because you chose that as a job.
Mm-hmm.
And you start to learn a lot. I learned a lot about the homeless culture in Los Angeles, because some of these people were homeless.
Mm-hmm.
I had friends who were from overseas where their visa they were starting to run out of money on their visa and needed something to supplement cash. And you just really start to see the different people who are willing to put in the time to get out there, work all day, because you're your own boss. No one's forcing you to get out there. So one thing you can't deny about people who are working out there on the boulevard is you're busting your ass.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like it was a hustle. I took away from it that maybe I am a hustler.
Yeah, you worked
Every
hard
day I'm
for
hustling and
3
hustling
years
and
after
hustling,
getting here.
hustling and hustling.
To get up in the morning and go back down there and face the kind of stuff that you probably faced,
Yeah.
and that I see those people face when I go down there, is
Just gotta
definitely
keep going.
develop thick skin and hard
Yeah.
work ethic, which you already clearly had to be able to do that. Yeah, I think that's...
A friend of mine once called me a gritty survivor when I was working on the boulevard. He was like, "You're like this gritty survivor." And I was like, "Thanks."
I've been through some
You
shit.
sure
Yeah,
are,
I know what- I
Marisha.
know
You
what I'm
sure
doing.
are.
It's in my blood.
You
now.
are an inspiration.
And were you taking auditions and doing stuff still during all of that? Just
I
kept it
was,
going? You never
yeah.
let that part die?
No,
It was
I'm-
still, I'm doing this until this happens.
Yeah, it was like the only flexible job, because I could go and bust my ass for 12 hours if I wanted to, if I needed to make rent, and then if the next day I was shooting all day, I didn't have any boss to report to.
And then you
I
could
could
just
just
go
go
in
do
for
it.
2 hours if you wanted or not at all.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up signing up for an improv class, the cheapest one that I could find. And I started kind of taking classes, and that introduced me to other creative people. And we started trying to make web videos. I ended up meeting this girl named Becky Young. Becky was a part of this little web series at the time that I was a fan of and was watching, called There Will Be Brawl.
Right.
One day she was like, "I have this idea for like a kind of pop culture nerdy sketch show. It's gonna be like SNL but nerdy. And I want to bring you on as like a writer actor, just like the good old days of SNL." I was like, "Yeah, okay." And she calls this meeting in her house. We're sitting there, we all brought ideas, and she kept being like, let's wait a little bit more because Matt's on his way. Matt's on his way. I'm like, who the fuck is
Oh, Matt.
And like 45 minutes
Is
into
it
the
the
meeting,
Matt?
in comes this two people, these two guys, Matt Mercer and Matthew Key.
Mm.
And
And she
Matt
was like,
walked through that
Zam.
door, and it was like,
Slow motion.
yeah,
Yep.
Commercial.
had the hearts around him. Ooh la la, Fabio. Shit, his hair was probably just flowing. There wasn't even a breeze, but his hair was still flowing. Maybe. Probably gave it the smolder.
Just
all that.
Right.
yeah.
Right.
And I was like,
Cool.
what the fuck is this guy?
Mhm.
Immediately taken with him. I always like to say, like, as a cynical, jaded bitch, love at first sight. Would not believe it if it wasn't for Matt Mercer walking through that door.
Changed
That is
your mind
beautiful right
completely
there,
about the
man.
concept.
Hell
As soon
yeah.
as I saw him, I was in love.
Wow,
Fucking in love with that guy. And
that's rare.
yeah, he was funny. He was this like gangly, long-haired, still like glasses at the time, nerd. And I was just like,
Gangly.
just my type.
Yeah.
Nerdy boys making video
Gang
jokes.
gangly.
And
Oh
that kind of
man.
ended up
Gotta shoot my shot.
like that. Whatever we were trying to get together to write didn't end up happening. But that
web series thing.
yeah, the
Right.
web series thing. But that introduced me to Matt Mercer, Matt Key, my friend Tracy, all these other web series people, all of them, Tony Janning.
That's so cool. Wow, man. That is so cool.
Yeah, a ton of people that make web series now. Woody Tondorf, still a good friend of mine. And we were all lowly internet shits. Like just trying, and all of that kind of culture came from, well, this writer's strike is going on. I was getting frustrated because I kept getting cast as these super trite roles. And was like, I know I can be like this super nerdy girl who's like I knew I could be this tough badass who could do this, and no one wanted to give me a chance
Right.
in Hollywood. You know, you have to show them what you can do. No one's gonna give you a chance. You have to show people
Yes.
what you can do. And once that started clicking in, that led to me doing Batgirl and
Right.
stuff like that. Like it all took off
Online.
from
Oh,
there.
really? Wow.
And I mean, so much of it was a little bit like self-serving.
That's pretty
Not
cool.
just for me, but for all of us, because we were a bunch of talented kids who couldn't get work. So we just started being like, fucking take this
We'll do it
industry.
ourselves.
We'll do it ourselves.
We'll make it ourselves.
Yeah. And so I'm like very proud to say that I was kind of a part of this weird internet surge that happened in 2007, 2008, 2009. I mean, right at the time, the Guild, Felicia Day was
Right.
doing the Guild.
In the
at
vacuum
that
of
time.
the way the industry was shut down, everybody just sort of started doing their own stuff online.
Yeah, you got to keep going. Your bills still have to get paid,
Mhm.
you know, and
You have to work.
you gotta work. You better work.
Gotta work, baby.
Work it.
Bitch.
Make it damn
Voice
real.
acting come into the picture,
I had eventually started dating Matt
right?
and was kind of introduced to all of these voiceover people. There was like a time where I was at BlizzCon and I didn't interview Liam O'Brien, but was part of the production. Like my co-host interviewed him at the time, and this was like before the game. It was like before anything. I was still like a fan of him. I took a picture with him in front of the Illidan
way.
statue.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
So
nice.
I kind of
That's
started
awesome.
meeting all these people. Laura Bailey being one of them. Yuri Lowenthal. And
Yuri Lowenthal, the
one
GOAT?
of the people that
Aw,
I met was
shit.
Valerie Aram,
Oh,
who
right.
works over at PCB,
Mm-hmm.
and Chris Zimmerman, who's also a big
damn.
voice director.
Director, right? Yeah.
And both of them were like, "Do you have reels? Where's your voiceover reel? You got this like interesting timbre to your voice. Like I want to make you do battle cries." And I was like, "Nah, I don't have a VO reel." And they were like, "Why not?" And I was like, well, I think this conversation happened with Laura. I was like, I don't know, Matt's in voiceover. And, like they always say with actors dating each other, it can be weird. And I was like, it's fine. Like, I'm kind of doing on camera work and have this video game thing going on. And he does voiceover. We kind of keep it a little bit separate. That's his thing. I don't want to encroach on his thing. And Laura was like, that's stupid. And I was like, oh, okay, you should just do it.
Yeah, just
like
do
three
it.
people in like 1 week were just like, that's dumb. Make a damn reel.
There's
Yeah,
room for
do
you
it.
both to live out
It-
your
of
dreams,
Exactly.
course,
ultimately,
yep.
right.
Exactly. So I threw together a reel and blasted it out to everyone that I knew. And that like next week, Valerie Aram hit me up and she was like, glad you got this. I actually have something right now that I think you would be perfect for, because we lost one of these actresses, and that was Margaret for Persona.
Oh, did they ever find her?
Wow.
Turns out she got lost.
But
in the
doomed.
land.
Got lost.
This
Oh yeah.
other actress moved away and
Yep.
decided to change your life direction, as happens in
Happens
Los
all the
Angeles.
time, right? Yeah. I'm thinking about doing it right now. Just kidding.
Every third week, you have a
Week.
meltdown.
Yeah, it's true though. There are those first few years in town when you're struggling and you're thinking about, I could just go back home and work a regular job and just be a regular person.
Have a house
right.
with a mortgage
Mm-hmm.
that's cheaper than the rent that I'm paying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it just kind of hit at the
Kinda
right
kicked things
time,
off for you.
just immediately, and then it turned into, oddly, like the path of least resistance in my career. It was just, it just kind of started happening from there on out, and part of it was because I was a female actress with this lower vocal timbre, and there's plenty of us out there, me and Courtney Taylor,
Right.
go head to head all the time. So there are definitely smoky voiced women out there, but not as many, and they were really looking for it in the industry at the time. So it just kind of ballooned from there.
Worked out.
That's so cool. You're able to use her
You and Matt are
uniqueness,
together.
you know?
You guys
That's
have
so
been together for a
cool.
little while. You're living together. You have an apartment.
Yes.
And how did you first hear about the idea of doing a D&D game for Liam's birthday? How did that?
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Um,
Where the magic started.
Probably in the average way that happens with Matt and I, where he'll come back and just rattle something crazy to me, and I'm just like, oh, okay, sounds great,
Right.
sure.
Let's
So
do
he
it.
mentioned, he was like, yeah, Liam's been wanting to do this game for his birthday for a while, and he was like, it's gonna be a table full of all new people. None of these assholes know how to play.
A daunting task
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
the beginning, right? 'Cause you guys
As
had
the
played
DM.
in a game together
Yes.
that he co-DM'd, right?
Correct. He was
And yeah.
co-DMing with Zach
Oh.
Hughes at the time,
Right.
and
Wow,
I was
okay.
in that game with Taliesin.
Mm-hmm.
So we were already had that going on. So Matt was like, okay, I'm gonna bring in Taliesin to be kind of one of the ringers to help
'Cause
be
he's
the
played
person
before,
to,
right, he
to
talked
lead
about
by
that.
example.
Right.
And then Matt was like, would you be willing to be there to just kind of be an extra set of hands and help coach? I was like, yeah, sure. So that first game, I didn't actually play, but I was there, but I was just the disembodied hand that would reach over people's shoulders and point to things on
Point
the
to
character
ability
sheet.
check, they needed to, add this and this, right?
Yeah. Roll your attack. Bink. Well, okay, +7. +7. Got it. So that was my role the first game.
What was that
Nice.
night like? Were you impressed at how everybody, minus maybe a few people who weren't too comfortable, kind of slipped into everything and
Oh,
had so
yeah.
much fun right away?
I mean, it's now legend
Legend.
how Laura Bailey slipped into that persona so quickly.
Right.
I will never forget both Liam and Sam, Liam especially, giggling uncontrollably, like schoolgirl giggles, for like the first 45 minutes.
I bet.
He could not get over that it was even happening. And it's
That's
us and it's Matt
oh, he
Mercer.
loved it, man. That's
So I
that's
was,
what
like,
that's what
lighting
you want.
incense, and we had a ton of like tea light candles just
Oh,
all over the place. And
that's
the music going.
set the
Lights were
mood.
dim, so we were really
getting
kind
into
of
it.
going into the theatrics of
Leaning
it.
into the mood.
Yeah.
But that's how you gotta play
atmosphere.
it, man. That's like,
But,
again, I've never played it myself, but dude, if I'm gonna play, man, if I'm gonna play, like I want to be able to have that kind of an atmosphere, not necessarily like atmosphere like surrounding, but to be able to play with people who are gonna be comfortable with being silly and slipping into the roles, and being as silly as need be, or changing their mannerisms, how they speak, and all that. Is you gotta have fun, man. It's to have fun. You're slipping into a role, dude. I think that's how you should play it. Like, I don't think you should ever be embarrassed to, like, if you're playing D&D, to like take on an accent or kind of be over the top, because that's the fun of the game. Now, if it's your character just speaks like how I'm speaking, and whatever, it's like a normal thing, then sure, cool. But I'm just saying, like, I think that it's good to have an environment where if you wanted to create a character that's different, or slip into a role, if you will, that you could. So
yeah, it was crazy to watch, and yeah, it was awesome.
And you ended up joining the game after they decided, let's make this a semi-regular thing after that
Correct.
experience.
I think it was me and Ashley
Mhm.
both came in when the decision was made to continue on. And so Matt was like, well, if this is going to be another D&D game, I want to, make sure my girlfriend is a part of it, because this is a significant amount of time to do, so I want to make sure, if I'm taking free time away from us, that you're a part of it. So,
And you fit into the voice actors playing D&D thing, because that's who you were and are, and so
Yes.
it seemed it was a good fit.
it was a good fit. I mean, these people are all my best friends now, but at the time, I was so intimidated,
I bet.
because it was like, soon to be BAFTA award-winning Ashley Johnson and Laura Bailey, queen of VO and video games, and Liam O'Brien, voice of Illidan. So part of the reason that I made Keyleth kind of an introverted, fumbly, put her foot in her mouth type of character.
that's how you
because I
were
was like,
feeling.
well, I might just do that
Yep.
a few times.
Yep.
So if I make it a part of my character, they'll never know when it's real or not.
Because you're geeking out a little bit to a certain extent, so why not build in some RP that can,
Yeah.
coincide with what you're already feeling outside
Yeah.
the game?
Absolutely.
So I wonder if, like, her admiration for, like, Ashley and Laura, but for Laura in particular, I wonder if, how, like, Keyleth has an admiration for Vex in the show. I wonder if that's one of the reasons why that kind of carried over. You get what I'm trying to say? I wonder if that, like, if her true admiration for Laura kind of seeped into Keyleth's admiration for Vex. You know what I mean? You know what I mean.
I mean, I was at this, just thrown into this table of all of these people that I deeply respected. And just being like, hope they don't just throw me out. Don't run me out on the rail. Please don't. Yeah, it's
Don't be
crazy.
mad if I play bad or forget the rules.
Yeah.
Right.
Damn, man, all this
You and
aggression.
I have talked about Keyleth for so many hours and hours and hours on talks and panels and things like that. Was there a point in the story for you where you went, okay, I don't want her to just stay this the whole time. I really want her to have a fleshed out arc.
I remember when we did the Whitestone arc, and that was so focused around Percy. And so much of that was a lot of Percy's journey super upfront. And then that was when I started realizing, oh, my thing is like, it's gonna take time. It is a journey. At the time, I don't think I really truly knew that it was gonna be this huge marathon of a story. But it was after kind of seeing other people's stories play out. And I was like, oh man, who? And I knew at that time that I really wanted to experiment with seeing how the world over a long course of time can start to affect somebody. Raising a child, it's not about nature versus nurture. I think it's nature and nurture.
Mm.
I don't know why we always feel like the two can't be, or the two are mutually exclusive.
Mm.
And I feel that way just about adulthood and just growing up in general. You don't change because suddenly you wake up one day and have a realization. The world impacts you. Things around you affect the way you react to them.
The people you're living life with.
100%. They're all going to influence you. And that was a lot of what Keyleth was about. And her whole backstory was that she hadn't been affected by the world. That was kind of what I wanted to see, where she would go. And, at the end of Keyleth's journey, I kind of felt like she had the most melancholy of endings. Like Grog and Pike went on and were best friends forever, and he was godfather to all these little Trickfoot kids, and Pike and Scanlan went off, and Vex and Percy went off and had a bajillion kids, and everyone
I knew
was
it,
kinda
man.
happy,
That's what I'm saying, of
except
course.
for Keyleth. And I think
Uh-oh.
that's because with no barrier, without that outer shell that people like the twins got as kids to kind of condition you and make you tough against the world, she just took the full weight of it.
Wow. Going back to what we talked about with the
Oh, I
feedback,
can't wait to see all this
will be
stuff
nice
unfold,
to
man.
control.
And see how it happens,
Yeah.
dude. I can't. This
On the
show's got to
internet.
come back now,
That
bro. I also got to get into the
Factor
campaign.
personality traits that Bo has. Did you think? Was there any part of you that thought, I'm going to be a little less risky this time?
Now, Bo is
I know
her
it annoys
campaign
people
2
because
character. Yeah,
Every time I open my phone,
the staff user.
there's
Love it.
100 messages telling me what
Telling me
annoys
what it-
people, right? Did that factor in at all when you were?
I'm fascinated, when it comes to characters, I'm fascinated with their faults. Because I think faults are what make people interesting. And the reason why I love acting so much is because it's just such a deep study of the human condition.
Right.
And D&D almost tops that in a weird way because you're reacting in real time to what's going on around you. So with Bo, I knew she was going to be heavily flawed. And I don't know, I knew that she was still going to be abrasive. I think that people clearly found Keyleth abrasive. There are certain people who find Bo abrasive. I know there are a lot of people who just find me as a person abrasive, though.
Sure.
So,
Sure.
what are you gonna do? What's been fascinating me, seeing the difference between Bo and Keyleth, are the people. Some people who loved Keyleth can't stand Bo, and vice versa. Much more the latter. I think much more people hated Keyleth but loved Bo. And I actually do find that fascinating because Bo is arguably more of a shit kicker and more of a selfish person, whereas Keyleth was just trying
Yeah,
to
wasn't
do the
wasn't
best
that one of
she
the
thought she could.
complaints
She was
that
earnest.
people had? I'm
Yes.
She
assuming.
was very earnest.
So earnest, but just trying to do good under the worst circumstances. Bo has a little bit more confidence, a little bit more of that cocky, surefire attitude, but is kind of way more of a shittier person. And people fucking love that about Bo.
It's interesting,
They
isn't it?
love that. I think it's a little bit of confidence. I think people react so strongly to either confidence or lack thereof, and we, as a society, hate people who are insecure in any way, even if they're the better person. If people, we sense insecurity on them, it's like blood in the water for sharks.
Oh yeah, yeah. Especially if I'm someone who struggles with being insecure and I see someone who's insecure, it's like calling me out.
Yeah.
So
It's
want
a
to
mirror.
attack that thing.
Mhm.
It's a
Right.
mirror
Damn, that's
ultimately,
Yeah.
and
a good way
I
to
hate
think
that
about it.
myself, so I'm gonna
Go ahead,
project
Brian.
that onto
Such a
the
great
other.
interviewer.
And I think a lot of people with Bo almost feel more comfortable because I kind of think the majority of people feel like we're shitty.
Hmm.
So I don't know if that's the connective tissue. I don't
Could
know.
be.
It's totally a much
fascinating.
different group. So there's the character studies aren't yet to be turned in because there's no
Look at her,
arcs that have really
having a
happened
good
yet,
old
but
time with
I
a
am
character
interested to see
sheet.
where everybody's gonna go because they're not the archetypes that
Yeah.
the characters in the first campaign were.
And I remember one of the things that actually I think bothered me the most about what people said about Keyleth. You know, she could annoy you, she could have been self-righteous, whatever you think. Totally. I'll give you all of that. I remember kind of later in the arc when she was really trying to come into herself as a leader and accept the role of being voice of the Tempest and having a hard time doing that. And I remember getting flooded with people being like, I hope that Keyleth sees that maybe not all people are meant to be leaders. Just walk away, abandon it. You're not cut out for it. And I'm like, why though?
Someone can't grow and
Yeah.
learn
And you
right.
can't be insecure and still be a good leader? Like, why?
Makes
I
sense.
don't
Right.
know. Why? And I think it's because we have such a strong idea in our heads of what a
That's some
leader
bullshit,
is.
but
Stout, strong, and a little bitchy and bossy, but, you know, still the people's man. And, you know, I
Right.
think, once again, any type of questioning or self-doubt, and people are like, "Pfft, can't lead, shitty leader." It's like, well,
not true at all.
Leave some space.
leave some
This-
space.
Remember, this
Let's-
leader
let's
is human. It's
breathe
not
a little bit.
It's
Yeah.
not AI. It's not. Yeah, it's not an immovable force.
Yeah. So I'm, in a way, I kind of took those. Those were the one comments that I was like, no, Keyleth is gonna lead. She's gonna show that you can, that the people like Keyleth can rise to the
way
occasion.
to go, Marisha.
Fuck you.
That's right. That's right. You heard her.
Towards the end of the last campaign, amidst all the craziness that presented
Yeah.
in the game and outside of the game, and the looming second campaign coming up, all the stuff that you guys had swirling around in your heads, plus all the other work you're doing outside of Critical Role, you got married in the midst of a shitstorm, really, of good stuff, but
Yeah.
it was a tornado and a hurricane meeting each other.
Yeah.
What was that like? You guys have been together for how many years?
Oh my God. 6 years.
Yeah.
6 years when we got married. So we'll be together going on 7, coming up on October 21st.
Couple of weeks. Your
Nice.
anniversary,
Yeah.
First anniversary.
First
Congrats.
year.
I know it's been
Thank
some time, but yeah,
you.
cheers,
You did
cheers,
it.
man.
Awesome.
Cheers,
You did it.
cheers. Boom,
Did. I
cheers.
survived. He didn't file for. What is that? What's the one before?
Alimony? Or what's it called when you
Before divorce, when you're like
annulment, right,
yeah,
right.
yeah, file for an annulment.
Yeah.
So I'm doing pretty good.
that goldfish night? Did you go home thinking that would be the night?
I'd be lying if I didn't go home and I was like, the fuck?
Right.
The fuck was that?
Right.
You dashed my character on the fucking rocks? I mean, turned out to be one of the very iconic moments of
Yeah,
Sierra,
unfortunately, that kind of got spoiled for me for a video that I was in the middle of reacting to. I'm not gonna say which one, but figured I had to hold off on those kind of videos. But yeah. So I know about that one. Unfortunately, I know about that whole thing. I still am very excited to see how this all plays out. And if it gets to that part where they animate that in the show, you know, this, that, and the third, or if I get to the part of watching it in the campaign, look, it sounds fucking hilarious, but yeah. I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of unhappy that kind of got... Because, you know, I analyze things all. It's like, I'm always... You see my reactions when I'm watching the show and I pick up on things. So I felt like there was something that I should not be hearing, and then as soon as I went to go, okay, maybe I should leave... Boom, it happened, and I'm like, oh yeah, no, I gotta go. Can't watch this one anymore. So it was actually a reaction that was scrapped. Maybe you can get an idea of which video that was. It's very, very, very highly requested video. But yeah, and it's nobody's fault. You know, nobody knew. It's just, you know, people wanted to see the video, and that unfortunately had something in there, and I was like, well, we're out of here. You know, so I don't know anything else or any other kind of like huge spoilers aside from like, you know, what they were just talking about here about like the different uh, couples and kind of where they get at. You know, towards the end, I had a feeling, a strong feel, kind of knew, but you know, they kind of confirmed it. But still not gonna ruin my experience at all, and I'm still gonna enjoy watching it. But I can't lie, that finding out about the whole Keeler thing, and she's like, "I'm gonna turn into a goldfish," and then it's like, bro, you just jumped off a cliff. You know what I'm saying? Like, what are you doing? But, anyways, yeah.
No regrets.
No,
but
none at all. Don't ever regret that.
No regrets.
It's interesting because I've talked to, you know, the couples on the show about the Taco Bell drive-through arguments about what happened in the game. You know, Laura, Travis, you and Matt, Liam and Sam. But what was it like trying to plan a wedding and execute a wedding in the midst of the end of that campaign and all the stuff that was happening?
I had no idea it was going to be so emotional, and yeah, that fucked with our heads on a deep level.
I bet.
Because that campaign coming to a close, I mean, it felt like saying goodbye to not only this person that you've had in your head for 5 years, but then also all these 8 other imaginary friends, and then Vax walking off into the sunset and fading away. It was just like, it was emotional, and it felt like grieving. Like we all kind of deeply aware we were in this weird kind of haze and funk, and I don't know. And that was like 2 weeks before we got married. So I'm just super emotional. I'm playing certain songs would play on the radio, and I would just start bawling.
Right.
Just
You're
because,
raw
like,
all the time,
just
basically.
raw. Yeah, just knowing I'm about to make this huge life-changing move while coming out of this life-changing campaign, and then just crying.
That's a lot,
over
girl.
people
That's
who
a
don't
lot.
exist anymore. Like, my parents were also
They
kind of
all
at
they
the
all
end,
exist here
in
in our
maybe in
hearts.
the thick of a divorce.
Right.
So
That's right. That was happening at the same time.
Damn,
That's
she was
right.
going through it.
So it was like, I'm about to swear my love to this other individual, my undying love for the rest of our existence, while my parents were like, well, good luck, hope it's better for you. Hope it turns out all right. I'm like, thanks, Dad. And he's like, no, your mom's great.
Right.
Like,
Right. Like,
I'm
this
like,
isn't the
oh,
confidence boost I need
Jesus.
going into this. Right.
yeah, it was,
Yikes.
that was an interesting time.
How's the first year been for you?
Oh, amazing.
Well, obviously,
I mean, we barely see each other.
I was going to say, if we thought stuff was crazy back then, fast forward to a year, and here we are.
I don't, we'll have like our staff or assistants tell us about something else that the other person has going on before we hear it from each other.
Wow,
The
man, that's
biggest
so
fallacy
wild.
is whenever anyone comes up and goes, what's Matt doing this Friday? I'm like,
Couldn't tell you.
I have no fucking clue. You probably know more than I do.
Right, right.
Yeah, I mean, it just ramped up. We're so busy.
Do you like working together? Do you like working with them?
I do. We actually have a pretty good working relationship. We also kind of have
That's
different
good.
pillars, though. Like I'm running the channel. I'm in charge of content and all that, and he's kind of the overall chief of creative for the entire brand. So he's just
He is truly the keeper of the critical role.
he
in that
is,
way,
yeah.
right?
He's making sure that we continue to have an ongoing story, that the world is fleshed out, that things are accurate. So he's so consumed with that, and that's a full-time job
Big
on its
time.
own.
Big time.
We all of us basically have 3 full-time jobs
Mm-hmm.
between VO and whatever the game
Damn.
is and whatever running the company is, and then personal lives. It's
It's a lot,
a lot.
right?
Only 24 hours in
I
a
miss
day,
him
bruh.
sometimes. We miss each
Sheesh.
other a lot.
I miss him too.
Yeah.
I miss him
I
too.
miss you, Matt. No, he's not really over there.
Love you.
I'm just kidding.
throw him some steaks.
Here's your lunch.
Yeah.
Speaking of full-time jobs, you are now the creative director of Critical Role.
Oof.
What does that job
Go ahead,
entail
girl.
for the folks that are watching this that maybe don't aren't familiar with our weird jobs in this industry and what those titles mean and stuff like that?
Yeah, they're weird.
What's
Weird titles.
You were doing this at Geek and Sundry, and then when we came here to do this, this is the, ultimately the house that your brain gave birth to in a lot of ways. What's your job as creative director like?
So my job as creative director, anything that you see that airs on the channel, I touch in some way, even if it's just final look-sees, edits, anything like that, notes. So and that comes down to, it comes down to everything. It comes down to any type of promos we have, new shows, even down to what subtle branding we have in the backgrounds of our set. That's all show logos, music, themes, anything like that is a little bit of my funk.
But you've also taken the shows from an idea to a reality too, and that whole process before stuff even airs, it's
correct.
It was an idea on a piece of paper, and then all of a sudden it becomes, take All Work No Play for instance, or this show. It's here's an idea.
Oh, she came up with that series, huh?
And then all the time, the crew, the sets, all the post-production stuff. That all falls under you.
All under that. Yeah, it's all. Yeah, everything starts with a one sheet and a pitch, and either I'll have an idea, or you will have an idea, or someone else might come with an idea, and the first thing you got to do is get it on one sheet of paper, not front and back. Just give me that one front sheet. What is it? I got to have at least the vaguest of notions by this one sheet. And then we take that and we drop it down on the table in front of everybody else. I'll say, like, I think we can do this. I want to do this. I want to do this.
We pick it apart, really.
Yeah.
And then your job is to put together the pieces of what remains and turn that into something that's quality.
Right.
It's not easy.
Yeah. It's. I mean,
Hell no, it's not.
Ideas will change 100 times throughout the process. You'll get new ideas. You want to go back to the drawing board. You discover more things. So, yeah, that whole process from start to finish in the creative. And I mean, even with like All Work No Play, we knew it was going to be, okay, let's figure out how we can take the podcast and turn it into a show. But we went through a lot of thoughts, like, is this going to be the type of show where you have confessional talkbacks into the camera and the guys are like, so, and or is it going to have like your classic hosty stings where they're like, hey guys, so we're here at Goat Yoga. We didn't
Dude,
know
what's
how
up,
much
man?
interaction
It's your
with the audience was
dude.
gonna
It's
be.
your
And then
boy.
we decided to go super real world, just wanted to catch your experience, and then we were kind of calling it the drunk history method, where them reviewing it in studio and then kind of flashing back to what they did. And that felt the most true to the podcast and what it was. But yeah, just saying like, All Work No Play the show is the easiest part of the entire process. And then you
Right,
have
the rest is so difficult.
have to
People
figure it all
probably
out.
don't understand how difficult something like that is and how many
Right.
hours. So what percentage of your week is spent working on stuff for the channel, and then you're trying to fit in voiceover stuff at the same time, and then you also have to prep for Thursday nights? There's a lot of days where you're here working on stuff. Up
Yeah,
until
'cause Thursday nights are.
Max is yelling at
It's
you to get
Thursday
to
night,
sit
boys.
in
You
for
know,
your
that's the whole
seat.
thing.
And then when you go home at midnight, you're still answering emails and
emails
sending
and
out.
questions.
So your week is.
Yeah, I mean, it's 24/7, and that's, I feel like that's such a huge part about just the industry in general that people don't understand, is that if you want to make it in this town, your phone is always on, you're always checking emails. Half the time you're shooting on the weekends because people are working day jobs 9 to 5 during the weeks. I spend most of my Sundays now reviewing edits, making sure things are good for between the sheets the day before, writing scripts, making sure whatever we are shooting the rest of the day, the week, is solid. And I mean, we have an amazing team, and I'm just trying to make sure like everyone is happy, things are done. But like if I didn't have a team that I could trust, like I show up to set and I know that shit's gonna be done. And that's great. That's because we have Danny Carr, we have Max James, we have
You got a great
Steve
team behind
Allen,
you.
We have all these amazing people
Working together,
that are
man.
good at what they do.
Hell yeah.
And I think a lot of times they say if you're a boss or a leader, to hire people and surround yourself with people who are better at your job than you are. And I thoroughly believe that.
Yeah, that gives you a lot of trust.
Yeah.
Because you know that they're equipped to be able to.
They're good and that they care. And taking a little bit of pride in your work goes a long way. And I'm so
Absolutely.
lucky that we have a team where, and I try and instill that as creative director. Yeah, we're a web company, we're moving fast, but at the end of the day, I never want to produce garbage.
Right.
I don't want to ever be crap. I would rather go quality over quantity any day of the week. And that takes a little bit of people who have to agree on the same thing. Yeah, we could let this one little camera position that's a little wonky slide, and yeah, this thing, you could, and it would go faster, but
Your mentality,
I care.
right? Your mentality. If someone says no one will notice, your mentality is I did. So that's enough for me
I
to
noticed.
say let's
I know.
find a better iteration of that thing.
if we can do better, we should. We should try. And there's always going to be ways that you learn how to do better.
I gotta go back for a second.
And
Hold on.
say no. Your
I
mentality.
care. And it would go faster, but
Your
I
mentality,
care.
right? Your mentality. If someone says no one will notice, your mentality is I did. So that's enough for me
I
to
noticed.
say let's
I know.
find a better
Yeah.
iteration of that thing.
if we can do better, we should. We should try. And there's always going to be ways that you learn how to do better. And 9 times out of 10, I'm not the one who's going to know. But you have to be, you can't be so proud or so egotistical
Yep.
that you don't know
To
when
think
to
that-
go
yeah.
and ask for help
Right.
or find that
We
person.
need another set of eyes on this thing.
That's a
You're-
good. That's
so
that's
much
another
about
leadership
producing is
quality that a
just-
lot of people lack.
Problem solving and organizing and having that trust. Like that's all producing is you have an idea, you have a goal, and you have when it needs to go out to the public, and then just from point A to point B, you just have to make it work.
Wall to wall stuff.
Laughs and sad stories.
What's your hope for all this? What's your hope for the future for this thing?
Man.
No, that's a very big question. but
Yeah. So many ideas, so many thoughts.
So many ideas, right?
Goals in my head are very far stretching, but for the most part, I am just such a deep believer in what Dungeons and Dragons and at the end of the day storytelling can be. And that's why I love this little show. It's the stories behind the storytellers. Like what everyone is still doing on the show is still just telling stories. And those stories can deeply impact people.
And we're seeing that, right?
Yeah.
With everything that this weird show has spawned, it's
Yeah.
yeah.
I
And that's
mean-
got to be living in your head when you're thinking about shows and how how people will react. Not
Yeah.
oh I like this or no I don't like this, but really the people that write and say, wow, that I wasn't expecting this thing to
Yeah.
really hit home for me, but it did, and you're thinking about that stuff.
Yeah, and there are different ways that content can change people. Back when we were doing Signal Boost at Geek and Sundry, it was very lighthearted. It wasn't, it wasn't emotional stories that people
Not
could
sure
relate
what-
to.
I'm not sure what
but
that
it
is,
was,
Signal
hey, check out
Boost?
this new thing. And I still get messages to this day being like, I discovered this because of Signal Boost, and now it has completely changed my life.
Right.
And then there are certain shows that that we watch all the time that I like to call cheese whiz for the brain, where it's not meant, don't think too deep
Right.
about it.
Right.
It ain't that deep.
Right.
And then you need those too, because sometimes when you've had a deep day, all you want to do is go home and turn on the Great British
Yep.
Bacon Race or
Right.
whatever.
Or
You
watch
just
Sam and Liam attack each other and
exactly
yeah, have fun.
and just have fun, and that can totally change someone's life who's maybe had a terrible day or a terrible week to just be like, oh, thank God, this is something that's not gonna weigh on my brain like a lead balloon.
Right.
And there's all of that.
Yeah,
is
you
necessary.
need that
all of that
kind of reprieve, man.
We need comedy in our lives because it reminds us to laugh
Absolutely.
even at some of the worst things in the world. But we also need realness and sad stories and this drama to be reminded that life is hard. And at the end of the day, we can all relate to that.
Right.
Life is hard.
Yeah, ups and downs.
Yeah, and I think the more that people talk about that, the more you just start to realize that we're all in this boat together, man. We're all the same.
But you said it, quality over quantity. Right.
Yes, sir. Quality over quantity.
Yeah. I mean, you only have so much time in the day.
24 hours. That's it.
Well,
Open
you're the
carry
youngest of
container.
us. You're,
Yeah.
you're our token stoner wild card.
Yeah.
Um,
I always say y'all are welcome for me bringing down the age group average.
thank God.
I'm that bell curve
'Cause
y'all have been wanting to.
watching a bunch of, 40-something-year-old dudes all the time get so old. I'm not 40. I'm far from 40. But there are people here who I
Yeah.
have to say thank you for not only joining me today, but for all the work you're doing for this weird
Absolutely,
thing that we
Marisha.
made. And for
Absolutely.
sharing what you did today. It probably wasn't
You're an
too
inspiration.
easy.
Yeah.
But I know
You're
that
a
it's shaped who
motivation.
you are today, and there's a lot of people that are going to watch this.
You're very strong
that
and
probably
you're
been through similar
appreciated.
things, and to see
What you
someone
do
end
is
up
appreciated.
so successful and so accomplished before they're 30 years old, especially having gone through what you did, I think is a
Hell yeah.
testament to who you are and your resilience. I'm not trying to make you
Hell yeah.
cry. I'm just,
Barbara
I'm
Walters
just,
speaking
no, I'm
again.
just speaking the truth. But thank you. I for one really look forward to everything your little weird hands touch.
We're gonna make so much dumb shit. It's gonna
Probably.
be great.
She's got the
Oh,
Midas
I can't
touch,
wait.
baby.
Man,
Everything
this- I
she
mean, this
touched
little
turns
thing
to
brought
gold.
Me and you together as partners too.
Absolutely.
Yay.
Cheers,
Now I
man.
have 50%
Cheers.
of all the money in the world.
What was that alimony I was talking about earlier? Is that still?
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
I
Good shit, man.
have so much
Thank
left.
the both of you. Thank
You
you,
do.
Brian, and thank you,
So
Marisha.
many of these have happened.
Well, there's
So
still
many.
a couple hours left in the day. I'm just gonna walk around town with this thing for the rest of the day and be like, can you take a look at this?
Is this? We have an open.
Looks good.
Open carry
Right.
in the CR studios.
In the studio, you
That's
can.
for alcohol,
can-
right? Not guns. Or is
You
that
mean an
both?
open container?
Open container.
Open
I think open
container.
carry is guns.
You're Kentucky and
Yes, it absolutely is. A jalapeno Margaret. Or Marguerite.
want a drink,
You know what I mean?
strong, a little.
I sure don't, Brian. I sure don't, but I appreciate the offer, my boy. What a lady, man. What a lady. Marisha, you are, like I said, you are such an inspiration. Definitely a beacon of hope for women out there that have gone through similar situations, trials and tribulations that you've gone through, and you're proof that, you can make it out there. You can. Not just women, but for anyone that wants to go after something. For her whole time when she first got to LA, she was doing things on her own. She took the idea to take her tap shoes out and start dancing a little bit. Granted, it wasn't sustainable because she was hurting herself, but she was willing to go that far. She was willing to go and get it. With the whole idea with turning her Ivy costume into Tinkerbell, that was something she came up with. Very intuitive, always thinking, always trying to better herself and think of the next best thing, and that is such an awesome trait that I think that everyone should aspire to have. And speaking to Marisha here, if you ever see this, I know that there are a lot of people that got on you in the beginning when you were first finding yourself and finding your character, finding your style, but really finding yourself, because it's you kind of grew with this, right? With Critical Role, with your team, with your family here. This is family. I know that there were a lot of people that were not a fan, but I hope that now with them seeing how much you've grown and just how intelligent and strong you are and mature you have become. Hopefully people have grown to take that as a sign that maybe they should do the same, and hopefully they have by this point. Brian, you did an amazing job. You're always a great interviewer. I always appreciate you facilitating this environment. I don't mean physically the environment, the surroundings. I mean person to person, emotional, mental, uh, being able to facilitate that kind of environment for these people that you interview, to open up and to truly not just hear what they're saying, but listen to what they're saying and truly try to talk to them and get their story. With that being said, it has been an hour and 30 minutes for part two. So, yeah, I wasn't wrong, bro. Over 2 hours with this whole reaction. Let's go, baby. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you guys enjoy all the content. I am going to try to get some sleep now. Please support, please share. Anything will help, man. Do all the good things. You guys know what I'm talking about. All the good things. Have a good morning, afternoon, or night. And I will see you guys in the next one. Peace, and take care of yourself.